Botswana. Khumo is in Pretoria. All right, so we're starting now, colleagues.
That one was called Badimo. This next one, I wrote it during lockdown. I think the second time in December when our president said, nope, you're having too much fun in December, it's time to go back home. So during that time I wrote it, it's called Temaga. So it was just me giving gratitude for the fact that we are all here. We made it to 2021. We've been blessed with life.
Don't know where to go to find some peace of mind. I just want to be home, to feel at ease inside. Oh, oh, oh. I cannot explain the things that I've been through. Oh, oh, oh. Let me just say that miracles are true. Oh, oh. Demagada mina, demagada mina, demagada mina, ile. Demagada mina, demagada mina, demagada mina, ile. Sometimes I look back on all the hurt and pain. I see that it's a fact that I am here by grace. Oh, oh, oh. 'Cause there's no way I would make it through. Oh, oh, oh. So let me just say that miracles are true. explain, I cannot explain the things that I've been through. But let me just say that miracles are true.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. That was a nice welcome by Ntsikwane with a song called Timhaka ta Mina, which I think it's a Tsonga song. And I can't interpret it now, but thank you, Ntsikwane. That was a wonderful song. We'll have Ntsikwane later in the program where we will be chatting to her regarding her biggest blunder. Thank you very much. This is My Biggest Blunder, Johannesburg, hosted and sponsored by Laura Center of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We really are grateful that you guys are here, and we have a lovely agenda today. We've got 4 people who will be talking about their biggest blunder. Obviously, we'll have Kgomotso as the first one. Then the second one will be Ntsikwane, then Matshepo, then Dr. Roche will be closing up. So guys, please, if someone is busy presenting in the chat box, make sure that if you do have a question or something stands out for you, make sure that you do put the message in there. Then we're going to either give you a shout out with that, or we're going to answer your question. We'll make sure that we get the speaker to answer the question. The other thing, again, you can just, if you're going to be tweeting, please make sure that you tweet with this handle, hashtag My Biggest Blunder, and follow us on Twitter at Laura Center. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter. We are called at Laura Center. Make sure that you do follow us, and then you tweet hashtag My Biggest Blunder. The other thing, again, it's like all the talks will be available on My Biggest Blunder YouTube. So make sure that you do go to our YouTube channel and then do subscribe, and then do get all the other talks that we do have. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to waste more time. Make sure that you also push on Facebook. Make sure that on Facebook, if you're watching us, I see other people now are watching us from Facebook. Make sure that they're on Facebook. Do ask questions. We do check that out. Make sure that you share as much as you can on Facebook. If you are there, make sure that your friends are able to. We are able to share as much as possible. Someone says they can't hear my sound. Can all of you other guys hear me? Can you send me a notification if you are not hearing me? Can you just say in the messages? Can you guys do hear me now as I am speaking? Yes. I can see other people can be able to hear me. So what we'll do is when the first speaker started, we'll try to assist you to be able to set up your sound. So do log out, then log in again. Just log out and log in again. Make sure that you choose the correct sound for this platform for you to be able to hear. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce to you our first speaker for the night, who's Kgomotso Gule. Is a principal consultant who started Kgomotso Gule Consulting in 2015. Kgomotso is an entrepreneur and researcher. He's based in Cape Town. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to put our hands together and welcome Kgomotso Gule to the stage.
Thank you.
So you just give me a sec now, and then I will call you maybe after 5 minutes. Give me a minute, then I can start with your presentation. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
The biggest blunder I've done in business was to be too attached. I run a consultancy firm called KG Consulting. It is a management consultant for both public sector and the private sector. But we did not start there. I started back in 2007 where I established a company called Gule Call Center Outsourcing, which was providing call center outsourcing services. And I also ran it alongside EZG Human Capital, which was doing HR consulting. So when I was running those two businesses, I was too attached in them. And I saw them as the legacy I was going to leave for my children. And I saw it as something that I was going to do for the rest of my life. As a result, I was too attached and one-dimensional, focused on the business. That led to a situation where I did not entertain other ideas from my network contacts as well as business associates that were perhaps suggesting other opportunities and other business ventures we could do. I always saw anything else as something that was going to be a distraction to what I was doing, because all my might, all my efforts were focused on the two businesses that I was running. And that led to a situation where I even lost opportunities of people who came to me and said that, Kgomotso, your businesses are doing well and would like to have a stake in your businesses. And by so doing, will bring more clients so that your businesses can grow. And I was uncomfortable with the idea because I saw people who wanted to take a part of me, a part of what I had started, a part of my brainchild. Whereas I saw these as my babies, things that were gonna take me through to the future, and I needed 100% control and ownership because it made me feel good. I saw it as something that spoke to me and it was attached to me as a person. So I was very much passionate about what I did and too attached. I mean, I always saw myself driving down the N1 in Joburg and passing down a high-rise building with lights written there, JCCO for Gule Call Center Outsourcing. That's where I saw myself. And I over-invested everything that I was and all my resources in the business. As a result of that, I was also too hands-on in the business. As an owner, I was doing business development on my own, and then also when projects came to the business, I was also working on them inside the company. So that meant that when we were working on project A, B, and C, there was no one doing business development. So once we deliver on those projects we were working on, I had to start afresh and look for new business. So that carried us for a couple of years. But after a while, when the effects of the economic recession started having an impact in my business, I realized that clients that used to spend a lot of money on my business were now spending less. Other clients were seeing my business as providing services which were non-essential, and they were no longer able to spend money on the business. So given the economic constraints in the market, I was unable to secure other clients. But I kept on pushing and I believed in myself, and I thought, I'm Kgomotso Gule, I've done it before and I'm going to do it again. But with time, I realized that the situation was taking a toll in my business. So I had to give up an office and I had to shed some stuff. And we ended up working at my house. And we were doing business development using the last resources I had with no money coming in. So with time, I couldn't afford to keep the staff anymore, and the business went under. I also realized that I couldn't do much. I put everything I could into the business to try and revive it, but nothing was happening. So I started feeling like a failure. I thought that all that I knew since I started working was pretty much HR and call centers, and if I couldn't offer those services, perhaps this was the end of the road for me in entrepreneurship. So I went out and looked for a job. I looked for a job and then I was shortlisted for key roles in the corporate sector. But it so happened that when I was doing that, applying for jobs, I would be shortlisted, and then I was told that, Kgomotso, we can see that you can do this job, but we feel that deep down you're an entrepreneur and then you will not be able to stay in the company for long because you will find a tender for millions and then you're going to leave us. And nothing I could say could make them change their mind. That's when I realized that perhaps the only way for me is entrepreneurship. And when I did entrepreneurship, I worked for myself. I had the biggest achievements because I was able to secure property for myself and also buy other basic things that I needed, things I could only achieve when I was self-employed. So I went back to being self-employed, but I couldn't do what I was doing. I thought to myself, how do I go back into entrepreneurship and make money and succeed? And the only option I came to was that I needed to reinvent myself. I couldn't continue providing those services anymore because they were no longer relevant and needed. Call center was no longer a novelty, and the HR market was now saturated. I also realized that I needed to relocate. So I relocated to Cape Town and started thinking of ways that I was going to reinvent myself. And then I did a lot of research. I looked for motivation from people I looked up to. And because I was in my late 30s, I also thought I needed to look at people that made it when they were in their late 30s. And one of those people was Steve Harvey, because I know that at about 38, Steve Harvey had not broken it yet in the market. And he was sleeping in his car and so on. So as a person that was starting from the bottom, I needed to look up to people who have been where I have been and see how they actually rose up and got up. And through Steve Harvey and people like Oprah Winfrey, I learned that you need to look at your talents. And according to Steve Harvey, your talent or your gift is something that you can do with relative ease and something that you are passionate about. And you can do with ease while other people find it hard to do. So I learned that once you do that, you can succeed in it and then the money will come. So I then had an introspection. I realized that if I forget about everything I studied and everything that I had learned so far and the skills that I had honed, what can I find inside me? And I realized that I'm someone who finds communicating very easy and I enjoy it with passion and I communicate effectively and I can make people talk. And then I then said, what vocations can I do in that area? And given what I have as a natural talent and what the market needs, I realized that research is something that I could do because I had been exposed to research facilitation and so on. I thought this is something that I can do by my natural abilities. I then, when I got to Cape Town, looked for research companies, and then I went and applied, looked for a job, and the only job I could get then was to be a freelancer where I would run around with questionnaires and I would knock on people's doors, ask them questions, and I would fill those questions. And I did that. I forgot about all qualifications I had. I forgot about everything. And I did that. I was paid 70 rands per questionnaire. I would do 10 or 20 questionnaires a month. And I would struggle to make ends meet. But in the process, I was learning. And because it's something that I enjoyed, I just did it and I did my best, irrespective of how much I was getting paid. And I then started learning about research, qualitative, quantitative analysis, and so on. And in no time, I was able to build myself to a point where I could be competitive in the research industry. Today, I consult for multinational companies in the research industry, as well as companies that are medium, small to medium enterprises in research. So today I know what qualitative research is, what is quantitative research. I know about analysis, I know about report writing, and then I'm making a living out of doing research under KG Consulting, as well as policy development, as well as strategy. Those are disciplines that I sort of concocted based on my knowledge and skills I put together and form a service and compile a service offering that could be useful to my clients. So I learned that it's very important to reinvent yourself. And some of the things that I know that were big lessons from my blunder is that you must not be too attached to your business. You need to understand that the service that you provide today may not be relevant a couple of years down the line. So it's very important to have a 5-year plan in business. In 5 years, a lot of things can change. The economic landscape can change and the market can change, whereby the service that you're offering is no longer a scarcity. It is now saturated. You've got a lot of people who know what to do. Things can change in 5 years. But if you have a 5-year vision, then you can do your best, grow your business in that 5 years. And should your business be relevant beyond the 5 years, then you can continue doing it. But if it is no longer relevant or it is no longer lucrative, then you can change and do something different because you shall have opened your mind to that possibility beyond the 5 years. And if you're not too attached, you'll be able to understand that other people that you work with in the business could also be able to help you do other key roles, and you'll be able to delegate so that you can free your hands and your mind while you run your business. There's a business tycoon who has said that, I think it's JT Fox, who has said that if you own a business, you need to make sure that you not only work in the business, but as an owner, you must focus your energy in working on the business while you have people working in the business. So it's very important not to be too attached, to delegate and be able to see your business grow while you open your eyes to other possibilities beyond the 5 years, and not be too attached to your business. So the biggest blunder I did, however ironic it sounds, was to be too attached to my business.
Wow, that was amazing. Let's put our hands together for Kgomotso. I mean, that was something else. Kgomotso, if you're able to, please do open your video. I just have few questions for you. And colleagues, if you do have questions for him, can you please add them through into the chat box, so then we can be able to answer them. Kgomotso is here to be able to assist you in answering those questions. Kgomotso,
I'm here. I think you can enable my video, please.
Oh, okay. Dr. Roche will do it on his side to enable your video. He'll make you co-host, so then you can be able to answer some of the questions that we are having. In the meantime, I want to understand, when you said you've lost it all and you had to start afresh, what do you mean by that? How much did you lose? Materially, financially, how much did you lose?
Well, I lost my house, TJ. I had a house in Centurion, a 3-bedroom double garage,
Sure.
You name it, the whole tutti that I had also renovated. And I kept negotiating with the bank, and they knew that I had been doing well. They pretty much gave me a little bit of leeway for a very long time. But after a while, they told me that, listen, you're going to have to sell the house. Otherwise, you stood to lose it through an auction.
Sure.
And I then sold my house. Obviously, to live during that time, I was selling the office furniture and this and that. There was very little that was coming in. So I pretty much lost my assets that I had built, the biggest one being my house. And I had to start from scratch, Everything that I had hoped and built for, I had to start from scratch.
Sure. And how did you feel like regarding because as an entrepreneur, to all the guys who are watching us, there's one thing that's guaranteed: somehow you're going to fail. How did you deal with the humiliation of I know with us, especially us Black people, the minute you move from where you are, and then you're staying in suburbs like Centurion, right? Sandton, four ways. It's like you've made it, right? Yep. How do you then look at these people that looked at you as someone who's making it now? Now you must downgrade now. Now you must lose your house. How did you deal with that kind of embarrassment?
To be honest, it wasn't too much of a big deal to me, because I always worked with and related to all people throughout. Even if my fortunes changed, I never changed the essence of who I was, you see.
Sure.
Even in business, I was someone who was working with a contractor today and working with a CEO tomorrow. So I really didn't worry too much about the embarrassment or anything. It really wasn't my focus. It didn't affect me as much. I knew that I had to downgrade, and the people that were in my, my vicinity, my family and everything, they saw it happening gradually. So I explained to them and they were understanding. Other people, they saw what they saw, but personally, I never changed who I was. So it didn't bother me. And friends, they were always there as well. My circle of people didn't change towards me because I also never changed whether my fortunes were up or down. So I was able to manage that social pressure per se.
Oh, that's interesting. Colleagues, if you do have questions, you can put them in the chat box and then we'll send them through to Kgomotso, or maybe we'll try to answer some of them. So, but something, you moved from Joburg, right?
Yeah.
Now you're going to Cape Town.
Yeah.
Were you trying to run away? What was happening there? Do you think, to entrepreneurs, what advice do you have regarding that? Do you think sometimes our failure deals with the environment where we are? If things are not working, should we move to another place? What's happening there?
The rationale was this, I could always go and stay at my parents, right? But the fact was, I was someone who was living in, I'm from Soshanguve, so I was staying in Centurion. It wasn't really far. So, yes, so I was someone who was living in between the two cities, Pretoria and Joburg. However, in the last 18 months or so, I had been trying to look for opportunities in Pretoria and Joburg. So
I see.
Me living 30 kilometers from my house wasn't going to make a difference. I would still access the same opportunities, you see.
I see.
So I also, I studied in Cape Town, so I kind of understood the Cape Town landscape. And I knew that Pretoria and Joburg offered pretty much plus minus the same opportunities. A place where I could go that was barren land, a place where I could go and start anew, where my services could be relatively new, was Cape Town. So it was driven by opportunity, you see.
Oh, I see.
Cape Town was more of a barren land, undiscovered territory, especially for Black professionals. So I wanted to relaunch myself, but also in a new environment that provided a basic on which I could start again. That's why I came to Cape Town.
Oh, that's interesting. So the next question is asked by Dr. Roche, and I know he stays in Centurion. He stays in Pretoria, so to say. And I read something recently which made me laugh. They say when Elon Musk became the richest man in the world at that time, according to Forbes, they said it shows that you can't really achieve something worth achieving while staying in Pretoria. So I know it has nothing to do with that. But the question goes like, do you feel ideas are location bound? An idea can fail in Pretoria and succeed in Cape Town. Do you think some of the ideas can make it in another place, but fail at another place?
100%. It is very important for you when you have an idea or concept to actually look at the market. I mean, for example, when you do a business plan, which is entrepreneurship 101, that you have to look at the niche market to say, yes, you've got an idea, but who is the niche market? Sure. And sometimes it might mean a different location where people have got different needs and so forth. So Cape Town for me presented a market which had untapped Black professionals. Sure. If you come to Cape Town, you realize that you have less Black people who are entrepreneurs, who are providing professional services and so on. A lot of Black people that migrate to Cape Town come here because they are following the companies to be employed or they are recruited to come and work here. But it is pretty much barren land. There's a lot of informal business in Cape Town, but in terms of formal business, there's less competition. For example, as a facilitator, workshop facilitator, especially in research, I've been here for 9 years now. I've never seen a Black man doing it. I've only seen white females and Black females doing it. Whenever I have an assignment to do the same in Gauteng, there's 3 or 4, 5, 10 Black men who are doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing. So I know I'm giving away my secrets, but I guess that's the whole point. But Cape Town is an untapped market.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. No, thank you very much. We've got, I'll do the last question, then we can move on. Then we'll also catch up with you a bit later.
Right.
We've got someone from Andile from Eswatini. Welcome, Andile. And we've got other 2 people from Botswana. I can see their messages now. And we've got another one from Eswatini again. So, the other question that we had here was, you said you looked up to people at a certain age to motivate you. How old were you when you lost everything and you had to start afresh? And I think that's important as an entrepreneur to know, at this age, I can lose everything and start afresh. At what age was that?
That was 2012. I'm 47 today. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so you see, so how old was I? 36 maybe? 36,
Okay.
yeah. So I was in my mid to late 30s. And of course, I mean, by the time you get to 30, you pretty much want to stabilize, you want to say, here's my house, my family, and everything else. So I was happy with the progress that I had made. I was looking to consolidate. I had acquired the basics for a 30-something-year-old man. I wanted to consolidate. And when I was consolidating, life was good for a while. Until suddenly the carpet was moved, under my feet. So at the time, it was very difficult to say, you know what, I'm going towards 40. And when most people at 40, they're starting to settle debt and all of that. But now I'm going to have to start from scratch,
I see. And
Yeah,
on that,
yeah.
let's do it as a wrap up question, because I also know that we've got around 40 people on this call. We have other people on Facebook. On that, when you are trying to talk about that, what conversations are you having at that particular moment with your significant other? Because I know entrepreneurship also has to deal with the person that you decided to have your life with. What conversation are we having with that person now? What is she saying? Is she saying go on? Is she saying this ain't working? Is she packing her bags? What's happening?
TJ, that's an important question, because the person that you have in your life, in whatever it is that you do, can sort of determine the extent to which you go. I don't know the authenticity of this, but it is reported that Nelson Mandela left his first wife because she wasn't sharing in the dream,
Okay.
and that held him back. And Winnie came along and she shared in the dream.
Yes.
So for me, it was obviously difficult, but the most important thing was to communicate openly. I remember one of the things that I was having with my significant other at the time was to say, you see all this furniture in this house? You see all of this? I've done my best. We're about to lose it. Yes, I sort of orientated her into saying that we're going to lose all of this.
Okay.
I'm still fighting, but do understand that we're going to lose it and I'm going to have to start afresh. At the time, she would always say, why don't you look for a job? I said, I'm looking for a job. I'm doing everything. But there doesn't seem to be any direction. I don't think she believed that we're going to lose everything. I don't think she believed it. Because when we did lose everything, I felt like Will Smith on The Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
All right. Kgomotso, what we'll do is that we're going to do all these other questions later. All the other questions that colleagues are put in there and on Facebook are noted. And we really appreciate them. They'll be answered. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to put our hands together once again and welcome Ntsikwane with her next song. Thank you, Kgomotso, for your presentation. We'll get back to you shortly. We're listening to Ntsikwane now with her second song.
Thank you so much. This next one, I wrote it for my late dad. I lost my father in 2019. It's called Heaven Couldn't Wait.
You're the best man I ever knew. You are my everything. You are my best friend. I could come to you with anything. You were my light. You shone the way when I was lost. You shone real bright take the pain away. Why couldn't you find a way to stay? I guess heaven just couldn't wait. You were the best dad that anyone could ever have. And I'll give all I have just to hear your voice, just to see your smile. You were my hero. You taught me life. You showed me love. And I want you to know I'll make you proud wherever you are. Oh, and I miss you every day. Someone please take the pain away. Why couldn't you find a way to stay? I guess heaven just couldn't wait. Ooh, just couldn't wait. Couldn't wait, couldn't wait, couldn't wait,
It's the first time I did that song without crying.
All right. Thank you, thank you. Can we give Ntsikwane? Is Ntsikwane here? Ntsikwane, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Come through.
Hi.
You need to switch on your, yes, you need to switch. Ah, yes.
But you've stopped the video now.
I did. Okay, my bad. Are you good?
I'm good. How are you, Roche?
Good, thank you. When you finished performing that song, you mentioned something about being the first time performing that song and not crying. What happened the last time you cried? What was the situation?
I've actually never been able to finish that song without crying. So that day I made sure that I was thinking about any other thing except my dad. So, cause I guess I felt like, I don't want to embarrass myself because I had so many people come through that that particular performance. It was a really, really, really cold evening out. So people braved their way to come through. So I felt like just stopping and crying, it's gonna be like, come on, can she be professional? So yeah, it was the first time doing it without stopping in the middle and crying and then getting back to it again. So yeah, I guess the grief, it's been 2 years now, so it's not as fresh. It's still quite fresh, but it's not so fresh as it was immediately after I wrote the song.
Yeah. One of the biggest, 2020 was very hard for everybody. Business was bad, most industries were shut down, and obviously artists also struggled. How did 2020, how did you cope with 2020 as an artist?
Financially, honestly, it was devastating. When COVID hit, I actually just moved to Gauteng. So when the president first announced, I was about to move in. Thankfully, the landlord delayed my paying the deposit and rent and everything. So by the time we got the lockdown notice, I hadn't yet paid rent or anything as such. So literally all my events in Gauteng that I had lined up for last year got cancelled. Obviously, like all of us, we thought, in 3 weeks, we'll get back to it, it'll be great. But it didn't. I ended up being home. I'm still in Polokwane right now, but I'm planning to come back to Gauteng soon. But as I said, financially, it was difficult. However, I feel like I've done so much growth in a year than I've done in the past 10 years as a human being and as a musician. Right now, I'm way more grounded. I'm way more secure in the sound that I want to share with the world. Whereas before, it was almost like I was seeking validation from people. I was doing what I thought would sell, what I thought would be popular. But now I'm almost in that, not in a bad way, I'm almost in that I don't care zone, not in an arrogant way, in a, this is who I am. This is the music that I do. It's either you like it or you don't. If you don't like it, cool, there's other artists. But if you do, then you become part of my tribe. So 2020 helped me in terms of growth, personally and musically. That's what I did. But financially, it was devastating. I mean, going back home is a humbling event on its own. So, and not being able to buy anything, because a lot of us artists got our main income from live performances. So when they got cancelled, 70% of our income went.
So the president announces the hard lockdown. We are into hard lockdown. Emotionally, what do you go through?
Panic.
As an artist.
Fear that the goals that I had are not going to be accomplished ever. Because I think all of us, it was just an energy in the country or in the world. Like 2020 had that vibe, you know? I always say repeated numbers. There's something magic about repeated numbers. So everywhere else, everybody was just hard on 2020. Like it was like, we're going to show them. 2020, we're going to kill it. And then lockdown said, nope, none of that is going to happen. And moved back home. So yeah, it was just fear and depression. Like I went into a seriously deep depression. But it was that lockdown was a catalyst to reveal what was in me all along, because as musicians, we feel things deeply. So I felt like all these years I was trying to outwork my wounds, outwork my traumas, outwork my issues, basically. So I was trying to be like, hustle, be the best, win awards, all those things to validate me as a human being. But 2020 showed me that I can't ignore me for money or for music. Even though it is a calling, I was using it as an excuse not to look at myself, to really look at what my vision is, what type of music I want to make, what impact I want to have on the world. So last year really gave me a chance to hone in on what I want to do.
Okay, so let's fast forward 10 years from now. There's a next pandemic coming through, because we are being told that this is not the end of the pandemic. There's gonna be other pandemics. So what would you do different with the next pandemic?
I would invest more in the passive income streams that we have in the music industry. I would pay more attention to my YouTube channel, pay more attention to creating more so that I can earn more royalties. Because I realized that a lot of artists were surviving by their royalties, like people like Simpiwe and I mentioned on Twitter that it's the royalties that keeping them going. And they're able to do that because they got airplay and they produced a lot of music. So with me, I hadn't produced so much music, and I'm not a national artist as yet. So my music is played on national stations, but it's not on high rotation. So the income I was earning from my royalties really was only enough to pay for perhaps my car and rent. That's it. So, but I know that the top level artists would earn as much as 100,000 just from royalties in any given,
So it's more work, produce more, make more royalties. In case, Okay, all right. Just to put you on the spot, but you talk about this anyway in your performances. One of your songs you talk about, you wrote when you were dating this guy for a while, and the guy dumped you, and you only found out that he's marrying another woman like the following day or something like that. What lesson have you learned from there? I mean, it's quite an interesting story.
The lesson I learned is that, firstly, don't do long distance relationships. Secondly, ask more questions. I think we tend to enter things, be it business or relationship, we don't ask enough questions. We see the surface and say, oh, this looks nice, this looks cool, he's a nice guy, or this looks like a nice business deal, and we just sign. But we don't, I guess also it's a fear of abandonment. We don't want this thing not to work out. We are, as Kgomotso said, we are attached to the outcome. We want it to go a certain way. So we don't ruffle feathers. We don't ask, wait, where are you going this weekend? Like, business, where? What business trip, So you don't, you just kind of think, okay, no, this is where he works. He sometimes goes away for business. Okay. So I think my lesson learned is that ask more probing questions, even if it leads to whatever it is that I'm asking not working out. It's also a lesson in not being attached to the outcome, in being more process orientated than outcome based.
Awesome. Last question, where can people get your music if people want to buy your music?
It is on, I have one song on Spotify, and then the rest of my album is actually on my website, because that's also another thing I'm trying to drive the income direct from the fans. Because as you know, with Spotify, all these things, they pay us like not 0.000 half a cent per stream. So unless you have 10 million streams in a day, any given week, you won't earn much. So I set up a website which has a store where people can actually buy the music and pay for the music, because I've noticed a lot of people want to pay for the music. My album is on there for free. You can download it for free. I got complaints actually from people saying, we don't want it for free. Can you put it so that we can pay for it on your website? So I'm still thinking about it, because I wanted to offer it as a gift, because I'm working on my third album. So this is the second album that's on my website. I just wanted them to feel the music now and then be able to judge the growth in the 8 years between the albums. So to have this current album, so when the third album comes, they kind of have a comparison to say, this is where she was mentally, emotionally as a human being in 2013, and this is where she is now. So hence I was offering it for free, but I might reconsider, because when people complain that they want to pay for something, I guess you should make it available for payment, because they want to support, also knowing what's happening in the world right now with artists and income being non-existent.
Okay, no, awesome, thank you. What's your website? I'm just going to type it on the chat. What's the
Ntsikwane.com. Ntsikwane.com, so my name.com.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So I've sort of put it on the chat. Those who want to get your music, we'll also share it on Facebook page as well. Thank you so much, Ntsikwane. We'll play one of your songs, the last song, before we close. And I want to wish you all the best. And multiple sources of income as artists, and make more music as well. Awesome. Thank you so much. And all the best. Thanks.
Cool.
All right. Thank you. The next speaker is a Praetorian, all the way from Acacia. Matshepo Msibi is the MD of Muloko Grace, which is a consultancy and advisory company that implements program for women economic empowerment, affirmative procurement, strategy, enterprise development. She's a very busy lady. TJ, you will obviously have a conversation with her after, but let's welcome on stage Matshepo Msibi.
One of the most difficult things to know in life is when to leave, is when to hold on, when to fight, and when to let go. My name is Matshepo Msibi, and I run a consulting firm that focuses on gender equality, strategy, women economic empowerment, and enterprise development. Before this, I worked for government, and I was the head of strategy for one of the government departments in the province of Gauteng. So one of the casualties of being in a senior position in government is that you will have tension with your political principles, especially if you have close contact and close working relationship with your political principles. And chances of this becoming a casualty is when you then find out that you have different or conflicting values and principles or ethics with the political principle, which is what then happened to me. So there's a quote that says, never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. So I allowed my temporary emotion or my temporary situation to force me to make a permanent decision to leave my job after what I call a fierce disagreement with my political principle. You will realize that in this talk, I'm going to be very politically correct in the words that I use. I remember this day like it was yesterday. We were in Exco, and I had what I call a dialogue or an exchange of words with the political principle that ended with the politician reminding me or notifying the meeting that we must remember who is the politician in this conversation, and that I wasn't the politician and he was the politician, which therefore meant that I needed to realign my values, my principle, my ethics with his in order to ensure that whatever project we were talking about would be carried out. This match ended in tears, and those tears were mine. And this is what led me to deciding to leave, because I had a belief that nobody must make you cry in a boardroom. Mainly because I've been teaching young girls that nobody must make you cry in a boardroom, or you must not cry in a boardroom, because that feeds into the narrative that women are emotional beings in business and in the workplace. So in resigning with immediate effect, obviously I lost my job. I lost my income. I lost the quality of life or the lifestyle that I had. And I lost a number of relationships because people then decided to choose where to align themselves. And therefore some people then decided to align themselves with the political principle and not me. So I did lose a number of things as part of that decision. I must confess that I felt powerless, that some of my colleagues didn't stand up for me in the meeting. I felt insulted by the politician who wanted me to realign my ethics, my values, and I felt abandoned. But most of all, I felt like the system doesn't work. You know, if you want to do what is right for service delivery, the system doesn't support you. How did I overcome and how did I bounce back from this? I was lucky that I was given 3 months notice period, which then gave me enough time for me to try and find another job. The Bible says you must encourage yourself in the Lord. I tried to do that. I must tell you, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Because when you're out of a job, people stop taking your calls. So I reached out to my networks and I was able to find a job luckily within the 3 months. The unfortunate thing though is that job was not paying me as much as my previous job used to pay me. So I got a job that was paying me about 30 or 40% less than what I used to earn. What are some of the lessons that I learned? I learned never to make life-changing decisions when you're emotional. It doesn't matter whether it is life, whether it is business, whether it is work. Do not make life-changing decisions when you are emotional or on a temporary situation. The second lesson that I learned is secure the bag before you leave. So have a plan before you go. So in the 3 months, I was able to try and gather a plan together. I didn't quite succeed in the plan that I wanted to put together, but at least I had something on the outside that was waiting for me when I left. And the last thing is to calculate the cost. So what I should have done before I decided to resign in a half was to then calculate what that would cost me financially, emotionally, physically, and relationally. Because as I resigned, my partner at home didn't know that I was resigning. And that also had a lot of impact on our family life. In closing, there is a quote that says, when you're a slave, you must be humble. It's an African proverb. So if you're working for someone, you're a slave. Therefore, you need to be humble. You need to know your place. It's not a great way to end the talk, but if you're a slave, be humble. So one of the things that I've learned from this journey, especially around bouncing back, is being humble enough, and maybe that's why I have a quote that says, a slave must be humble. So even if you're a slave to your own business, you must be humble. You must be humble enough to start from the beginning, to start again. So, after leaving the job, I then had to start from the beginning. I had to take jobs or even opportunities that, according to my previous life, I wouldn't look at them. I would tell those people or phone somebody else for that. I therefore stopped being that person whose job is too small for me to do, and I started from the beginning. And now I've been able to then build a huge portfolio around the business, and that's why I now run a very successful consulting business. My clientele is government departments, is international development agencies, it is blue chip companies, top 40 companies, because even now still, now that I have big blue chip clients, I still take the small jobs. There is nothing too small that I don't do. If you invite me to come and MC your event, I will do it gladly. And that's one of the biggest reasons how I was then able to then bounce back. When people see you putting in 100% in menial jobs and menial tasks, they then start trusting you with bigger projects, and they then trust you with bigger budgets. And then one day you find yourself in the presidency, doing work for such big organizations. So I think that's also one of my biggest takeaways. No job is too small. Start from the beginning. Be humble. Put in the work. People talk about 1,000, 10,000 hours. Put in the 10,000 hours. Work at the business, and then you bounce back. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. Matshepo.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. No, thank you for the powerful presentation and for sharing your story. I mean, that's extremely amazing. So let me start from here. You you become emotional, right? And you leave your job. You become emotional, then you leave your job, and you have a partner that you did not talk to about you making this decision. So my first question will go directly there. How did that affect the relationship? You just touched it, you just brushed it, and you left it. How did it affect the relationship? Is the partner still there today ever since that happened? Because the last time I had a similar situation, it did not go well, and the partner is no longer there, and a lot of things happened after that. So how did that really affect the relationship that you were in?
But how do you dive into the personal business of the people just like that?
So what happened?
So I think I was lucky because my boss at that moment. So in business, in government, you have the political principal, and then you have the DG or the head of the department.
Sure.
Who then was like, Matshepo, you can't leave immediately. You can, as much as I know that you left I literally resigned ka WhatsApp. So as we were in the exco, as she was sitting across the room from me, I was resigning ka WhatsApp. And I mean, we then had a conversation where she's like, you can't leave immediately. And then we agreed on 3 months, which also worked for me because I also didn't have a plan.
Sure.
So I then had to go home to then say, okay, so this is what happened was in the exco today.
Yes.
You know, so can we work with each other on this thing? But you know, I think the nice thing that I did do though is I was then able to then come back and say, how much do I actually need on a monthly basis, and how much can I survive on a monthly basis? And I think I realized that, you know, when you have a job that pays you 10 rand, you most times you actually don't need the 10 rand. You actually live on 2 rand. Mara, because you earn 10 rand, you then have a life that is at a 10 rand level. So when I then did the calculations and the cost of what it would take for him to take care of me as we look for other opportunities, I was then able to say, the only amount that you need to, you know, push out is 2 rand, because I just need 2 rand a month. The other stuff that I used to have, which are luxuries, we can do without. So I mean, we had that conversation, but I mean, I think, you know, yeah, Kgomotso said one of the most important decisions you make about your life, about your career, is who you marry. So it's a very important thing that we normally don't talk about. You know, we don't discuss. Your partner is very important to your career progression, your career growth, to your business, especially if you're an entrepreneur. So I think it worked out, but it wasn't my first rodeo at resigning you know, emotionally. So I guess he was used to those kind of decisions. Yeah.
So the lesson here is, in whatever you do, emotions out. Don't make a decision under emotions. And you spoke about your life deteriorating. Obviously, you know, as entrepreneurs, or even if you're employed, you've got a level of a lifestyle, the quality of a lifestyle you have, right? Obviously, it deteriorates the minute you start losing the income. Share some examples. How did it deteriorate? You know, did you stop going to your favorite restaurants? Did you stop, you know, wearing certain kind of clothes? What happened? Were you still using the very same car? All that. Give us at least 2 examples.
You know, and so I'm trying to not, you know, go very personal, but I think I used to live a lavish life. Maybe let me put it like that. So I used to live a proper lavish life of just buying expensive bags, expensive shoes, you know, having like a lot of people who are helping me with things that I can do for myself. You know, whether it's a chef or a gardener or a what, you know. So being able to then say, okay, Matshepo, if you don't buy a pair of shoes or bag or whatever, or don't go to a girls' night out every weekend, how much would we be saving? And then when you then realize, or at the end of the month, if I don't get a chef in for the whole month, I save 3.5. Okay, so 3.5 tick. We will be cooking, seeing that we are going to be at home. You know, so there's just little things like that, and you don't have to live a lavish life in order for you to be able to find savings. But it's things like that. But I was ready. I must have you know that I was ready to let go of my car and trade it in for a smaller car because of the decision that I had made, and I wanted to be accountable, and also to prove to the other side that I'm also willing to take one for the team, since I'm the one that put us in this situation. So luckily I was able to then get a job like almost a month after I left. So even though it was still a short payment, Mara, the short payment was within the budget that I had drawn. So the partner didn't even need to chip in at the end of the day.
Oh, okay. So it's always important to be able to, you know, readjust your life, go up, go down.
Readjust. No more international holidays. Like, it's okay not to go to Dubai every year.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about people not taking your calls. I understand when days are dark, it means it's night. It doesn't mean friends are few, it just means it's night. So days are dark for you at that particular moment. People are no longer taking your calls. How does that make you feel?
You know, it's the strangest of things, because so when you're in that position of privilege, because people are always calling you and they're always looking for things from you, and you are the one that is not available. Yes, I'm available. Yes, we can do that. That the minute you lose that position of power or privilege, and you are trying to call people, and people are suddenly not taking your calls or saying we'll come back to you, or they're dilly-dallying and they're doubtful, and you're just like, but I thought this person was my friend. This person has been to my house, and then now suddenly they're not taking your calls. So it's a shot of reality, though, about the kind of people that you actually need to have in your life, and fortifying the relationships that you have, even just with your stakeholders, because when you're running your own business, we normally say, business people do business with people that they know.
Yes.
So we need to maybe define what does the people that I know, what does that mean? Does it mean that you're only doing business with people that want something from you? And when you've got nothing to give to them, that you become obsolete and they don't need you anymore. So it's really about building strong relationships with people, so that even when the people who were unable to then stand with me in the board meeting were able to then come afterwards to say, hey, Matshepo, Rona, we are husbands at home. We can't be putting our jobs in jeopardy because of you, So, power to the people. We are in your corner, but we can't be loud about it. But it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So we need to fortify the relationships and build, have proper relationship building and stakeholder management as a thing that you do on a daily basis as you run your business, as you're just in your profession.
So thank you very much. Your presentation has got so many lessons, especially around emotions. As entrepreneurs, we are passionate and we are emotional. We want to get things done, and when things don't work according to what we're looking for, we fight, or we go to the other side. Thanks a lot. We're gonna go to the last speaker. I'll get back to you a bit later, then we finish. Colleagues, if you still have more questions for Matshepo, just put them in the comments on Facebook and on our chats, then we'll be able to answer them a bit later. I'm introducing the last speaker for the night, who is Roche, who is the founder of LoRa Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. He's passionate about entrepreneurship, innovation, and he's passionate about development of people and ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome the last speaker for the night, Mr. Roche Mamabolo.
Our obsession with elite institution messes us up. As startups, we are so obsessed with getting big clients while we are still starting to build our businesses. So when I left corporate years ago to start my own accounting practice, I remember waking up the day after I've resigned and thinking to myself that there is no SMS coming into my phone at the end of the month. I was anxious, but I was also excited at the same time, because I was fortunate enough to start with a small client base of businesses that I was going to do accounting work for. So I woke up that day knowing that I have something to do, and I'm looking forward to doing books and doing tax returns and monthly management reports and pay slips for my clients. So I started working for a while, excited, but at the back of my mind, I knew that I wanted one big client, because if I can get one big client, I know that I'll be set, my profile will be better, and things will look much better. So along the way, I worked with my small clients. They were paying me the little money that they were paying me. The work was so big, but you know what? I was grateful for the little that I was getting. Until one day we landed these big clients. I was so excited. I'm like, what? This is what I've been waiting for, And you know how it is, you get a big client. At the time it was a government client. And the numbers, I saw the numbers like astronomical. I was like, well, you know what, this is it, So we signed the contract, get the first deposit, and off we go. So, as a small startup accounting practice, what do? I let go of the small clients. I mean, the small clients really, they're wasting my time. There's this big fish that I just caught, and I need to execute and focus on it. And that's what we always say, right? That you need to focus on the big clients because the big clients give you big money. So yes, I decided I'm going to let go of the small clients, small money, lot of work. I'm going to focus my resources, all my resources, on the big clients, right? Then got the first deposit, bought laptops for my team, bought equipment, bought a car, you know, like, I was living it up. I was excited, bought a car, and the client was in Mpumalanga. That's like where the sun rises in South Africa, one of our provinces. Off, I took my team, off we went to Mpumalanga, about 400 km or so from Pretoria, set up a little office there, started working. And so the first payment came through, started working, excited. Along the way, obviously, how the contract was structured is over a 3-payment cycle. So there's a first payment upon signing the contract, and then the second payment midway through the project, and the last payment when we submit our last report. So the first payment came through, started splashing, buying stuff, took the staff to the province, set up shop there, and started working. As we're working, doing audits of various infrastructure projects, second payment come through in the middle of the project, everything was fine. So it was a 12-month project, and there was a possibility to renew the project. So, I was thinking long term, maybe 2 years or 3 years. So I remember saying to my team, guys, we are about to wrap up the project. Can we please make sure that we submit the invoice? We wrap up everything, submit the report and the invoice before November. Because should November come and we have not submitted, chances are if we submit the report either in November or in December, there won't be anyone to review it because either people will be writing exams or people will be away on holidays. So we worked so hard, we then submitted the report and the invoice before November. And Murphy's Law, right, there was no one senior officials to review our report and sign it off so that we can get payment. Come December, no one. Now remember, I don't have any other clients except this big client. And by that time, the other small clients are gone. They have decided to find other accountants because you know what, I was this big shot, I was not even worried about them anymore. So they've gone, they found other people, and I'm focusing on this big client, right? So November, there's no payment coming through, right? I need to pay salaries. December, there's no payment coming through. By then, I'm broke, right? I need to pay my staff. Now, I'm panicking. I go to the clients, why is my report not signed off? There's no one who can sign it off. People are on holidays, come back next year, in January. And with government, right, in South Africa, once it's holidays, people go away, they don't do any work. January, when they come back, the work that they're going to start happening is mid-January, if you're lucky. So January comes, I'm now went through the whole December without payment. By that time, my team is upset with me. They have left, they took my laptops, they're saying they only return my laptops once they get paid. So I'm stressed, I spent the whole December, and mind you, as an entrepreneur, you are the last one to get paid because you pay everyone else. You pay your team, you pay your suppliers, you pay the rent, and if there's any money, if you're lucky, if there's any money left, then that will be yours. But because of what was happening, I didn't have any money that's mine, the whole of December and January. So they come back to work January, and then I go. You can imagine, I'm like, you know what, I'm going there by myself, I drive all the way to Mpumalanga, I have a meeting, and I'm told that, you know what, unfortunately we've exhausted our budget, we don't have money now, we have to wait until the Minister of Finance tables the budget, right? And mind you, the Minister of Finance is only tabling the budget in February, towards the end of February. I'm already stuck in January. Okay, the money is finished, there's nothing I can do, right? Then I decide, okay, let me wait. February comes in, I go. February, okay, guys, the minister has tabled the budget. Can I get payment? They said, no, we have to wait for what we call the MEC of Finance to allocate the budget. All right, MEC of Finance. Mind you, by then it's 4 months, no payment. And the MEC will only allocate the budget in March. Come March, I go, they said, you know what, Mr. Mamabolo, your tax clearance is expired, so we can't pay you. Please sort out your tax clearance. Now you can imagine, I don't have money, I owe SARS because I haven't been paid. And now my tax clearance is expired, and I can't get paid. So I have to go to Revenue Services, make an arrangement with them so that they can pay me, right? Ultimately, SARS agree. They gave me tax clearance, I take it to the province, and I eventually get paid. By that time, 5 months, no payment, right? I'm sitting there, I'm frustrated. The money bounces once into my account, and then it's gone, right? Because I owe ever so many people, and I can't even enjoy that money, right? I mean, at that time, my stress levels were high. I've lost, my car was even repossessed, right? I've lost my car. It's a very, you try and hide away from the bank officials. You run away, they call you, then you hide. And until I decided, you know what, I'm tired of running, I'm taking the car back. I remember taking the car back to the dealer. I get there and sign all the paperwork. And then now I don't know how to get back home. So I asked the guy to give me a lift. And the guy says, okay, no problem, I'll give you a lift. And guess what? He gives me a lift in my own car. So he fetches my keys and he gives me a lift in my own car, right? And I'm sitting on the passenger side and drops me off at the taxi. I don't even know how much the taxi is by that time, you can imagine, right? So I lost my car. At the time, my name is blacklisted. It's a mess. I can't even go back to my small clients. They are gone. They don't even want to hear me because according to them, I have betrayed them, right? So I lost everything. Basically, I lost everything. I had to start from scratch, right? I remember I was depressed for a while. When you're depressed, you oversleep. You don't even want to wake up. When you wake up, you don't even open the curtains because there's nothing exciting out there. You just want to wallow in your own depression. Fortunately, I had friends who came through and they checked me up, they motivated me, and I started to pick up, right? And I had to rebuild again, clean my name, and get back on my feet, buy a new car. But obviously, that was a gradual process. So, what are the lessons, right? 3 lessons. One, growing a business as a startup is very dangerous if you are not prepared. And what happened in my instance is growth happened to me, right? I didn't plan the growth. The growth just happened to me. I just stumbled across this opportunity and I saw it as an opportunity. But emotionally, I was not prepared. Resource-wise, I was not prepared. The plan was, there was no plan. It was just, there's a big client, I am going. And I then learned that to grow a business, you need to plan, you need to be emotionally ready for it. You need to be, team, you need to have a proper team. You need to have proper resources. You need to have capacity, so to speak. So for me, the first lesson was I need to be emotionally and financially ready. At the time, I was not ready. So that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is that, you start small with small clients and you look after your small clients, right? This obsession with elite big clients is what messes us up. Had I looked after my small clients, right, boring as they were, a lot of work, a little pay as it was back then, I should have hung with them. And even if we get a big project, I should have allocated 1 or 2 of my team members to look after the small clients. Because what I've learned is that small clients will keep you in business, right? They won't make you rich, they won't take you to Dubai or whatever, but they'll keep you in business. They'll pay for your petrol, they'll pay for your rent, they'll pay for the running costs of the business. They won't necessarily give you a bonus. The big clients will make you a millionaire, definitely. But the thing is, you need to be in business, right? Which means you need to have small clients that will keep you going in your business. And when you get big clients, it will just be a bonus. So I learned the hard way, right? That I just want big clients, I don't want small clients, right? And I realized that actually the small clients are the ones that keeps me in business, and the big clients will make me a millionaire. But even if I'm not a millionaire, I'm still in the game, right? How then, lesson number 3, how then if I look after my clients, how do I grow as a big business? I grow with my clients. I look after them, I build a relationship with them. As they grow, as they become big, who are they going to, ask for help? They're going to ask me. Why? Because we have that relationship that's sustaining us. So how do I become big as a small client, as a small startup? I grow with my small clients. As they grow, I grow with them. And what I've learned is big clients will bully you, right? Even if they don't pay you in 30 days, it's not a crisis for them. You can't go and stage a sit-in, right? Because they can fire you instantly. There are other small startups that are waiting for that opportunity. So if you mess up, you give them grief, they'll tell you one side, can someone else come through? So you're at the mercy with the big clients. Small clients, we are buddies, we bully each other, right? If you don't pay me a deposit, I'm not doing the work. And guess what? You're gonna have to pay me a deposit. But I can't say that with big clients. If I say pay me a deposit, they will be like, you know what? There's someone else who's going to do that even without a deposit, right? So for me, those 3 lessons, I had to learn the hard way. I had to go bankrupt, right? And I had to pick myself up. But those are the lessons that, the blunders that I've made and the lessons that I've learned from those blunders. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a fascinating story. Roche, so everyone wants to know, right? You are surrendering your car and this guy gives you a lift in your car. What conversation are you having from there to your house with your car that you are in for the last time? What conversation are you having along the way? Everyone wants to know that, because for me that's
yeah, you talk about the weather, at some point there was a moment of silence, you're making sure. So you pretend as if you want to make sure that you haven't forgotten anything that's yours, your personal stuff in the car. So you're still checking, Yeah, it's a shock to the system, TJ. It's not an easy thing, but I think you accept reality at the time and you roll with the punches. And I think for me, it's a lesson that I was never taught at business school, and we learned the hard way. I can tell you, even now, there are some clients that I've done work for, big clients, I've done work for some research work for universities. I've built, it's almost 2 months now. I haven't been paid, right? But I'm much wiser now. So I'm not stressing. I'm not stressing. So back then I would have been stressing, but now I've learned that the small guys, they pay for the things that we take for granted, and they keep us going, even in difficult rainy days. They keep us going. And I think, the past few years, I've learned to appreciate the small clients. Just a small story, TJ, before I take most of the time. When I was working at Deloitte, there was a query with a client. At the time, it was SAP, before it became AP and Bev. And so there was a query in my department. I was in the tax department. And with audit firms, there's tax, there's audit, there's all these other ones. So one of the partners from audit came to my boss at tax and said to my boss, whatever query it is with you and SAP, write it off, right? And which meant that having to write off an invoice of almost half a million, about 500,000. And I didn't understand that. So when I asked, but why do we have to write off such a lot of money? And my boss said, you don't understand. SAP has been a client of Deloitte for 100 years, right? So an audit client, that's an audit client. So you come with your tax invoice. We don't want to mess up the relationship we have built with our clients for 100 years. So for me, it was like 100 years, So I had to go back and sort of think, where was Deloitte 100 years ago? Where was SAP 100 years ago? Probably they were both startups, right? And look at where they are now. They're big conglomerates in their own industries. So which meant they were able to maintain those relationships over a 100-year period, which is something that I found, that a lesson that I had to, remind myself every time I get small clients. I don't take them for granted. The little that they pay, I look after it and I cherish it because it keeps the game going.
Okay, so at that particular moment, you're losing this 5 months, no payment, you're waiting for the first one. Obviously, the first time you get a bigger payment, you wake up and you walk outside even if it's cold, right? But now, when there's no money coming through and everything seems to be going down slope, obviously, as entrepreneurs, you lose the reputation. Your employees, your staff, your suppliers. How do you deal with that, the reputation side of things, to say, because automatically you become a crook when those things happen, because you can't pay people and you're giving them stories. So Roche is owing me money, he's not paying me. He says he's waiting for payment, but he's owing me the 100,000. So it means Roche ki crook then. How do you deal with that, the reputation side of things?
It's a difficult one, TJ, because, with entrepreneurship, you always, firstly, it gets to be very lonely because you're the only one who understands, what's happening around you. And most of the time, when there's a crisis happening, you always think you can rescue the situation. You always think there'll be that one client, that will come and rescue the situation. So you keep quiet, you bottle it, because you always feel there's a solution. And that's the nature of entrepreneurs. We always feel there is a solution and I just need to find a solution, until really there isn't anything coming. And you now have to, face the consequences where people start switching off their phones and they don't answer certain numbers. But we always feel, if I keep quiet and I'll find a solution. And sometimes the solution doesn't come. And I think that's where the issue is, where there's this lesson in strategy, in communications. They say it's better to over-communicate than under-communicate, right? And as entrepreneurs, we are very poor at communicating situations. We expect other people to understand, but we don't necessarily communicate. So when there's no money to pay my team, for instance, at that time, I found that, I only communicated late when I could not pay them. I should have communicated to say, guys, which I think I did, but I didn't reinforce, to say, if we don't invoice in November, chances are we're going to struggle to get paid, because November is exams, holidays, January 8th statement, blah, blah, blah. So I did communicate, but I think I could have done even more to over-communicate, even with the suppliers. You always hear this when they talk about, even with the bank, with my car, I could have communicated sort of with the bank to say, look, I'm still waiting for payments. Can we make an arrangement, for the next 3 months, I pay X amount, even if it's slow. And you find that if you do communicate those type of expectations, they are likely to meet you halfway. I was I almost paid off the car. I think I was left with about 6 or 7 payments. But because I didn't communicate, I sort of playing hide and seek. I thought the money will come and I'll pay and everybody will be happy and be superhero again. Unfortunately, I wasn't the superhero. And I lost everything, But yeah.
Yeah. So I also need to find out with this. Obviously, when these things are happening, people say horrible things about you at that particular moment. What are some of the most horrible things you've heard people say about yourself because you're in this situation? And how did you get to deal with that?
Yeah, when the guys left with my laptops, it was like, working for black people, working for black, you always have this, you know what, I was warned, I was told, you working for black people, this is what's going to happen, So it was painful at the time. I think one supplier was even saying to me, you black entrepreneur, we give you a chance to deliver. Now you're coming and you're screaming about payments. You said you've got capacity. Now go deliver. I should have appointed some white firm because they have resources. They wouldn't be coming screaming for a 30-day invoice. So they even look at your invoice. How old is this invoice? Only 60 days. No, man. We'll pay it. Go back. So it was a big knock, TJ, on your confidence, because when everything goes down, goes south, everything hurts. They say even a fly or a mosquito that lands on you, it hurts. But when you are winning, nothing hurts. Someone can come and amputate your leg, you wouldn't, because you're winning, right? So I found that when things are not going according to plan, everything, Jay, I mean, like I was saying in the talk, you just oversleep. There's no reason to wake up. You opening the curtains for what? Like the sun is shining. Yeah? You just want to close the curtains, put in some series, and just escape your reality. So it was hard. It was very difficult. But like I said, I was very fortunate. I had a couple of friends at the time who came to the rescue. They were motivational speakers and all these other things, and we had some sessions. And I remember in one session, I usually keep quiet and I sit at the back and I just listen, right? And I don't actually get involved in the discussions, but I just listen. So I remember this one time, Bramike Mwendani was talking, was giving this talk, and it was in 2010, the World Cup. I mean, can you imagine being depressed when Philip was here? So yeah, I sat at the back, I listened, and after that, for me, that was a turning point. After that event, I just quietly went back and I had to re-strategize. So what I find also is what entrepreneurship will do, especially when things are going down, is you get depressed and you hide yourself. So you isolate yourself, you don't pick up calls, you don't go out, you just hibernate and you isolate yourself. And I think this is where depression wants you, because it wants to isolate you so that it can box you against the wall. And I find that had I kept myself away, I mean, I remember I didn't even want to go to that event. I was like, the reason why I went is because I had the key to the venue. So they were waiting for me. So I had to go open for them. Otherwise, if I didn't have the key, I wasn't gonna go. But I find that going out, being with other people, that are able to pull you out from your depression, and this is why people who are depressed, they go for this AA or whatever meetings, and they share their experiences, and through that you're able to pull yourself out.
That's interesting. Colleagues, you can just put in questions there, and I'm going to go through them. One of the questions, this one was Mushe. He was saying, who paid for the fuel when they to drop you with your car? Obviously, I know that you did not have to pay for that, so but I think I was making a joke. So the other question was regarding how long did it take you to rebuild back and get back into the game?
It took me almost a year. Because, I mean, the whole thing happened in 2009, beginning of 2009. So I got paid in March, around about March. And obviously I had to, pay back whoever I was owing. So it took me almost like 6 months of trying to hustle and nothing is coming out. But because as entrepreneurs, we are delusional, so we postpone reality. So we don't want to be realistic about certain things because we have our heads in the clouds. So we always have this vision: this thing can happen. Elon Musk failed so many times, so this thing can happen. Until I got to a point where I was staring at going back to corporate, and corporate for me was not an option. It was just not an option. So I had to then rethink. And fortunately, that's when that event, because that event took place early in Jan 2010. I didn't even, this whole Philip and what, I was like, you know what, guys, I didn't see, you even miss opportunities, because when you are depressed, you even miss opportunities because you are in this dark cloud, and you don't go out, you don't talk to anyone, you don't have the confidence, your confidence is dented, yeah.
And someone wanted to know, have it ever crossed your mind to commit suicide when all those things were happening?
No. Suicide was not an option. It has never been an option. I mean, at the back of your, you always know that you can sort of come up with, I mean, if all else fails, say all else fails, right? I mean, at the time I had a master's degree, so I could go back to corporate. And I could easily go back to Deloitte, I could easily go back to Pricewaterhouse House. So for me, it was not like a cul-de-sac where it was just absolutely no way out. So, suicide was never an option at all. Even though I had friends, and I think also that's the other thing that saved me, because I had friends who were entrepreneurs, and when I tell them such stories, they laugh at me because they have seen worse. So, and I think it also helped me that they were able to pull me out, to say, when are you complaining about a million? This is nothing. I've lost 3.6 million. Like, what? Look at me now. I had to start from scratch. And you look at those type of stories and you are able to say, maybe I'm a crybaby. Let me, dust myself off, lift my head up and face the world.
So this also is very important to us entrepreneurs. Small fish or big fish, which one as a startup should I concentrate on? Small clients or big clients?
The problem with big clients as a startup is you don't have capacity. When I listen to, I've done some work with big corporates on their enterprise development, Coke, SAP. So the big
I think Roche is frozen on the other side. Let's see if we can be able to get him back. In the meantime, we can just post through those questions, the final questions, as we are coming to the end of the session. And thank you very much, colleagues, for being here. Can you please also in the chat box, at least all of us, can you at least put in one lesson that you might have gotten from today's session? Just one lesson that you think you might have gotten from today's session. For me, was like the final one. Keep the small clients. And I think two of the speakers spoke around that, to make sure that we keep the small clients. No matter how small the job is, you need to keep on to those smaller clients. Any other question, any other lesson that you think you might have caught from this? Because this is about us as entrepreneurs learning from other entrepreneurs' failures, so that we don't repeat the same failures that they might have went through. Any other lesson that you think you might have gotten from today's session? You can just put it there in the comment box, something that just stood out for you. And as we bring this to a wrap up, what other lessons have you learned? The lesson I learned is that don't be too attached to the business. And I think that's very imperative as entrepreneurs, not to be attached to the business, not to, especially if you started something, don't be emotional in the boardroom. You can always rebuild even if you fail. I think it's very, very important to know that you can rebuild even if you fail. Don't make decisions out of emotions, boardroom politics. Better over communicate than under communicate. Also very important. What other lessons, colleagues? As Lindiwe says, we must at least try to diversify, try to do different things at the same time. As we see, and I see Roche is back, he'll answer the final question, then we can be able to close it down. In the meantime, Roche, are you back? Okay. If he's not back, lots of lessons. Planning is very important. Yeah, someone spoke about the fact that you need to be able to plan. The other thing I learned in today's session, it's about downgrading. Stay humble. No matter how big you become, when you start, or when each hit the fan, take a step back and retrace your steps, replan and move on. You see, these are the lessons, and I think we need this, because sometimes we learn better from other people's mistakes than their successes. And I think it's important for us to be able to learn from each other as part of My Biggest Blunder. So we look at other people's blunders, we use those blunders to build our own lives. Build your stakeholders nest and nurture them. And it's important, because when things go the wrong way, then you are able to know that, okay, I've got these people that I can be able to rely on. I've got these people that I can be able to trust, I think that's also very, very important. Roche is back. He'll answer that one final question I posed, and then we bringing it to a close.
Okay, sorry, I got cut off there. I'm not so sure what happened. I think what I was saying is, what you want is you want to be able to build your business ground up. So you want to be able to have, I think Kgomotso spoke about it, proper systems, the right product, a stable product. You want to be able to know how to bill, to invoice clients. You want to be able to understand the culture that you're trying to build of your organization. And you want to make those mistakes with small clients, And like I was saying, that with small clients, the room to make mistake is there. They can forgive you, and you can tolerate them also when they struggle to pay you. So you want to make your mistakes in the small. So it's sort of like an induction into entrepreneurship. So you want to make your mistakes in the small, and once you have that confidence now, and your product is stable, and the culture within the organization, you are happy with it, then you can grow and copy and paste that formula into other spaces, other branches, either you franchise it, you open other branches. But you want to make your mistakes in the small and learn from those mistakes, and then you can go big. Unfortunately, we are obsessed with, I want Coca-Cola to be on my CV. Sure, you can do that, but you need to have a fail-safe plan. If Coca-Cola pays you in 60 days, for instance, how are you going to maintain that 60 days without getting paid?
All right. Wow. This was amazing, colleagues. I think this is the end of the session. Before we leave, these are some of the lessons that we got, and then Roche will help me to put some of the lessons and then that we got. So if you are taking notes, you can just quickly take some of the notes and we take it from there. I'll move this out. From the first speaker, don't be too attached to your business. Your service may be irrelevant in the near future. Number 2, lessons that reinvent yourself. The market is always changing. Number 3, learn to delegate, work on, not in your business. Work at a strategic place in your business. Actually, there's a course that we are doing now on scaling that we are doing at Laura now. And that's exactly what we are discussing now on how do you work on and not in your business. Number 2 speaker, Ntsikwane said, invest in multiple sources of income, create more work so that you can earn royalty even during hard times, ask more questions and go deeper. And then our third speaker, I think it's Matshepo, said, never make permanent decision on temporary feelings. Secure the bag before leaving. Calculate the costs, emotional, physical, financial. Be humble, appreciate opportunities that may be beneath you. And then Roche came up with these 3 lessons. Plan your growth. Don't allow growth to happen to you. Very, very important. Look after your small clients. They will keep your business, they will keep you in business, and then grow your customers. So you start growing your customers. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for being part of our session. And I see someone said we can send them the lessons through the email. If you do need those lessons through the email, please do send an email to Roche, and then we'll be able to make it PDF and send it through to you. Want to thank Kgomotso, Ntsikwane, and Matshepo, and obviously Dr. Roche. And our production team is Temba, Tabang, Mitai Langa, Grace, Mutegi, and then obviously your MC was TJ Malamule. And thank you all delegates. And before we go, guys, we've got a special treat for you guys. We've got a special treat for you. I want to introduce to you Ntsikwane, who's going to give us a last song. So we're going to just log on, and then she's going to do the final song. And then when the song comes to an end, it will be a good night from us to you. This was sponsored by Laura, Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. You guys have been great. Thank you very much. So do send the email directly to Roche so we can be able to reply to that. Thank you very much, guys. You guys have been great. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome Ntsikwane with a last song. The audio is not, it's not yet there. As they are checking it, you can check this video once again. It will be there on our YouTube channel, My Biggest Blunder. Please do check it out on our YouTube channel, My Biggest Blunder. You'll find the whole video. You can go back and check the lessons time and time and time again and write them down and all that as we are putting through the last song for the night. And to know more about LoRa, you can go to loracenter.co.za. You'll find out more about our courses and all the other work that we do with entrepreneurs and all the courses that we are running throughout the year. Click it on the other side, Doc. loracenter.co.za. We are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. You'll be able to find us and check the amazing work that we do with entrepreneurs from all over Africa.
Okay, TJ, I'm having challenges with the video. Maybe let's just close.
All right, thank you, colleagues. Have a lovely night. From us, we say good night and thank you for being with us.